They say hospitals are where people go to get better, to heal, to hold on to life just a little longer. But I don't think I'll ever see one the same way again. Not after what happened to Stacy. Not after what I saw with my own eyes. We had just come back from a weekend at the coast, the kind of trip you take when life feels too heavy and you want to remember what the sun feels like. Stacy was laughing that morning, swatting me with her towel after I spilled orange juice on her favorite dress. It felt like one of those movie moments, normal, even beautiful. We picked out seashells, shared ice cream on the boardwalk, and talked about our future. But beauty is fragile, and normal doesn't last. She collapsed on the beach, right in front of the lifeguard stand. The sound of the waves blurred as people rushed over. I remember the sound of her name being called, but it wasn't me saying it. My body had gone still, frozen, as if a switch had been flipped inside me. The compressions into her chest didn't look like what I'd seen on TV. They were desperate, violent, real. And when the ambulance doors closed, I still hadn't said goodbye. I didn't believe I had to. I kept whispering to myself, "She's going to be okay." Over and over. They told me she'd stabilized, that she was in a coma, and that they were doing everything they could. I clung to every word the doctors said. Every beep of the monitor felt like hope. I slept in the uncomfortable ICU chair. I held her hand when the machines beeped through the night. I read her favorite book aloud, even though I wasn't sure if she could hear me. But then the doctor, the one I'd only see once a day, told me to go home. Said I needed rest, that he wouldn't be around on the weekend anyway. I didn't want to leave her, but I did, just for one night. The moment I stepped into my apartment, I felt wrong. The silence was too loud, the shadows too long. I couldn't settle. I stood in the middle of the living room, unsure if I was supposed to sit or lie down or scream. So I showered, I sat in bed, and then, against every bit of logic, I went back. I needed to see her again, to feel like I was still fighting beside her. The main entrance was locked. I took the ER route, winding my way through half-lit halls, trying not to feel like I was doing something wrong. The halls smelled sterile, but something beneath that scent was off, like mildew, or maybe something worse. The ICU door was just ahead when I saw two nurses wheeling a gurney. I knew that arm, her tattoo, Stacy. They hadn't seen me. I waited, thinking it was just some test, some routine thing. Then I buzzed myself in. Sally, the night nurse, met me with tears in her eyes. She said Stacy was gone, that her condition had worsened suddenly, that they'd done everything. But I had just seen her, moments ago, alive, being wheeled away, not dead. I blinked, trying to process her words, my ears ringing. Her expression was sympathetic, but something about it felt off. Practiced, like she'd said it before, too many times. I don't know what made me walk away instead of breaking down. Maybe it was disbelief. Maybe I already knew something was wrong. I followed where they'd gone, and when I couldn't find them on the next floor, I ran for the basement. Everyone knows that's where the morgue is. I felt like I was being pulled by some invisible force, my legs moving faster than my thoughts. The elevator doors opened to dim lights and tile floors. At the end of the hall, the doctor who wasn't supposed to be there, stood outside a maintenance door, shuffling papers. My breath caught in my throat. I hid in the shadows, heart pounding, and watched him slip through the door. My body moved before I could think. I followed him out into the service ramp, around the side of the building, into a place I never knew existed. The walls inside were green, pale, sickly green, the floor checkered black and white. Everything was too clean, too quiet. The hum of fluorescent lights made my skin crawl. I turned corners with trembling hands, opened doors that groaned in protest. Then I saw the sign, Operating Room 1. A paper covered the viewing window. My hand hesitated, but I pushed through. What I saw on the metal table, it wasn't human, it wasn't real. A head, just a head, connected to tubes, pumping blood in and out. Machines humming, alive, working, as if that severed thing could still live. The face was blank, empty of recognition. My stomach turned. I knocked over a trash can and bolted, ducking into the next room. I heard footsteps. "What the hell was that?" someone whispered. Then a voice over the walkie, calm, cold. "Jensen, how is Mrs. McNally? We're prepping the body now. Should be ready for transfer in 15. "Sounds good," Jensen replied. "Probably just a rat. I'll keep an eye out." My body shook. My mind raced. They were talking about prepping bodies. My wife's name could have been next. They were harvesting people, comatose patients. I ran again, downward, into the heart of the nightmare. And then I saw her. On another table, the tattooed arm, machines pumping, her head placed gently on a tray behind her body. This was real. It was happening. I couldn't even scream. My knees buckled. "Mr. Sharp, you can't be here," the doctor said, his voice devoid of surprise. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't look away. They had killed her, dissected her. For what? Science, money, a dark experiment. The room spun. A man lunged at me. I ran again. My heart thudded so loud it drowned out the alarms. I made it to my car. I drove to the police station and I told them everything. But I could see it in their eyes. They didn't believe me. Not until they saw how broken I was. They agreed to come. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd find something. Prove I wasn't insane. But by the time we returned, everything was back to normal. The nurse acted concerned, said I was traumatized, grieving. The officer looked uncomfortable, unsure. She promised the body would be ready in the morning for confirmation. I could see the manipulation, the effort to gaslight me into silence. I didn't sleep. I waited in my car all night. Every shadow looked like someone coming for me. Then, just after sunrise, a new nurse brought me in to see her. And there she was. Or someone who looked like her. Her head, her tattoos. But not her body. I knew. They tried to explain the changes in death. How a body changes, swells. But it was a lie. The torso was wrong. The fingers were longer. Her scent was gone. I had seen what they do. And now I bury a stranger's body with my wife's face. And every night I hear the machines. I hear the hum. I see her eyes when I close mine. And I wonder how many others. How many were sold, because that's what they're doing. Selling coma patients to the highest bidder. I'm the only one who knows. Or maybe I was just the first to catch them in the act. And now I don't sleep. I watch. I wait. Because I think they might be coming for me next. I always thought abandoned buildings were just hollow echoes of forgotten times. Crumbling walls, creaky floors, and faded graffiti that whispered stories of trespassers past. So when I decided to start a YouTube channel exploring these places, I wasn't expecting anything more than dust, silence, and maybe a few good scares for the camera. I live just south of Georgia, so naturally, the first place I looked into was the haunted town of Savannah. But that place had already been combed over by ghost hunters and thrill seekers. I wanted something untouched, something real. That's when I found it, Central State Hospital, Georgia's first insane asylum. It wasn't just abandoned, it was shunned by time itself. The deeper I dug, the more unsettling the rumors became. Patients left to rot, experimental treatments gone wrong, and whispers of souls that never left. It was too tempting to ignore. On July 15, 2019, I left before dawn. The city's skyline slowly gave way to an endless stretch of pine trees and fog-draped fields. With every mile, the hum of modern life faded, replaced by the chirping of insects and the occasional rustle of unseen animals in the woods. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. The kind of peace that makes you uneasy, like the silence before a storm. 2 hours later, I pulled up to the asylum. Bright sun, clear skies, wind whispering through the trees. The grass was freshly cut. Everything looked too normal. But the building, massive, old, towering. It felt like it had been watching and waiting for me. Vines crept along its brick walls like veins on a dying body, wrapping tightly as if trying to hold the building together. I strapped my GoPro to my baseball cap, grabbed my bag, and started circling the main building. First thing I noticed, a large water fountain still worked. The soft sound of water trickling in a place like this felt wrong. It was like finding a beating heart in a long dead body. The building itself was imposing. Every window seemed to stare back at me, dark and empty. The silence here wasn't just quiet. It was oppressive. It pressed against my skin, made every footstep feel intrusive. The front door was locked, naturally, with a large sign warning about mold, collapsing structures, and wildlife. But locked doors and warning signs weren't going to stop me. I hadn't driven 2 hours to film from the sidewalk. I walked along the perimeter, checking every door, every window. As I checked every possible entrance, I noticed how clean the building was. No broken windows, no graffiti. Almost like people were scared to touch it. It was as though some unspoken rule kept vandals away. It gave the place a haunting sense of preservation, like it was frozen in time. I found stairs around the back and climbed up to another set of doors. Locked again. But this time, a broken window beside the door revealed something bizarre. The lights were on, in an abandoned building. I tried reaching in to unlock it, but the door needed a key. I stared through the shattered glass, through the eerie, glowing hallway, when a voice startled me. "You're not breaking into this building, are you?" A security car had pulled up. The guard rolled down his window, watching me with calm suspicion. I played dumb. He asked for my ID, ran a quick check, and then warned me. Moldavian wild animals, unsafe structure, and I wasn't supposed to be behind the building at all. Just stick to the front sidewalk and don't go inside. I nodded, smiled, lied, because I wasn't done. I didn't come all this way for nothing. That building had secrets, and I was going to find them. I waited for the guard to drive off, then moved on to the next building, which was connected to the main one. Another staircase, another locked door. But beside it, a shattered window big enough to squeeze through. I shined my flashlight inside. Empty, quiet. 2 doors on the far wall, one chained shut, the other open. I climbed through carefully, avoiding the broken glass. I was in, finally. The air was thick and heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. The silence inside wasn't comforting. It was suffocating. The walls were vandalized, covered in crude drawings and old slurs. My flashlight flickered as I stepped into the hallway. An elevator stood crooked at the end, half sunk into the floor. I wasn't getting in that death trap. I turned into a side room, a check-in area. Papers were scattered everywhere. Payslips, blood donation forms. Then, accident reports. The more I read, the darker the story became. 3 patients dead after escaping in the 1950s. 1 hanged himself. Another beat a fellow patient to death. Then I read something that turned my stomach. A patient forced to eat a towel soaked in his own vomit. He choked to death. Unauthorized surgeries by nurses. Experimental drugs tested without consent. And then a photograph. A small boy, 5, maybe 6, locked in a metal cage, surrounded by men in suits. Not a scream, not a tear. Just blank, haunting eyes. There was something deeply wrong about this place. Something evil that wasn't buried, only hidden. "What the hell were they doing here?" I whispered. That's when I heard it. A soft scruffing sound just outside the room. I stepped out slowly, flashlight raised. Nothing. Then again, this time from the elevator. I crept forward, light shaking. Suddenly, a possum hissed and leapt out of the elevator, scurrying down the hall. I gasped, heart racing. But then, something else emerged. From one of the doorways, something lunged at the possum. I watched in stunned horror as it ate it, tore it apart. The shrieks of the animal echoed through the hallway, then stopped. The figure stood slowly, turning its head toward me. Black, featureless, eyes glowing like dying embers. Is it someone new? It rasped, each word sounding like it clawed its way out of a throat filled with smoke. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. Then another one emerged, from the wall. Literally, phasing through it like smoke through a vent. Then another, from the ceiling, then the floor. All staring, all watching. Glowing eyes locked on me, studying me. They didn't blink, they didn't move, until they did. They started crawling, slithering, sprinting. Their limbs twisted and bent in unnatural angles. Shrill shrieks, choked gasps. The sound of wet breath and raspy laughter filled the corridor. I ran. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I knew if I did, I wouldn't make it. I bolted down the hallway, flashlight bouncing off the graffiti. The window. I saw it, light pouring through like salvation. I have to make it. I dived through the opening, tearing my arm on the glass, but I didn't care. I hit the ground running, down the stairs, across the grass, back to my car. I jumped in, locked the doors, started the engine. As I backed up, I looked one last time at the building. They were watching me. From every window, every floor, all of them, eyes glowing, faces blank. And I swear to you, one of them smiled. I uploaded the footage, then deleted it. I couldn't keep it up. I didn't want people going there. Not because of mold or snakes, but because something still lives inside Central State Hospital. The patients never left, and they want out.